And what you're really doing is gathering your an understanding based on comparable sales evidence as to what this property is going to be worth. If you are still unsure, then you're going into breaking it down, going, well, what's the land worth and what are the improvements worth? With investors, there's also the capitalization approach, which is taking the income and going, well, what are these properties selling for on we call it a yield basis. So if you have an income of, say that property is earning $25,000 a year in rent, and you have a purchase price at $500,000 to get the yield. You divide 25,000 by 500 to get the yield. And that's a very common approach for commercial property. They mainly lean on the income, so that's your primary method.
Well, there's financing based on the income alone in commercial compared to resi.
Yeah, and resi is less weighty because there's more owner-occupiers in that space.
Yeah.
And it's very difficult.
When you say less weighty, like you mean less...
People don't put as much weight on the capitalization approach with residential.
Yeah, okay.
And that's like when you start buying in these by property, or you're going to auctions, or you're putting bids on, you can do all the research in the world and you might be the most accurate in your assessment of where value sits. However, you're competing against emotional end users, and you can't, that's what I say to clients, I can't value human emotion on the day, but I can understand the heat in the market and say, well, this is a scarce asset that doesn't come up too often. So yes, all the comparables are saying it's worth $1 million. However, I'd be going in with that mindset of, what are you willing to walk away from this property for? And often, unfortunately, it just takes time to educate people. They see that, and they're obviously, they don't know me prior to this, so that they've got their a bit of a guard up as well.
Yeah,
and they're like, well, you're just convincing me to try and buy it for $1.05 million when it's only worth $1 million. And to each that, I say, it's completely fine. Let's just have a go, and then they'll see that, oh, actually the heat in that market, and they've lost that property now.
Let's talk about this in terms of like a use study or a case study, and it might be worth using through the current market, well, not the current market now, but what the market was at the time through COVID in Palm Beach for my cousin Jaryd.
Oh, yeah,
I think that'll be good. We don't need to mention prices and whatnot, but he knew you, and wasn't like he wouldn't have had his guard up too much, but still would have had some emotions on around how the market was moving. So he did what we mentioned in our last podcast episode. If you're going to buy as an owner occupier, he moved up here and he rented, worked out where he wanted to live, fell in love with the place, the suburb, and then was just looking at that suburb, right? And then you were chatting to him around buying here, and the market was going gnarly. It was just nuts, right? Like,
I learned a lot during that time too.
Yeah, so I want to hear what you learned during that time, but also what was happening in that time where you were valuing properties in this specific area for Jaryd, and what people could learn from that. Because I Jaryd's like one of my best mates, right? And we talked about this, and I knew that there was a lot in there, and they really wanted to live in Palm Beach. Like, it was an emotional buy, and they bought emotionally very well. Like, if you're going to buy with emotions, I think they did really, really well, and they've done well with their purchase. Yeah. So, tell us like what was going on from like, all right, Sam, help me find a property in Palm Beach to buying one, and then all the stuff in between, because that was intense.
Yeah, well, that caught us, definitely caught me off guard, and there was a few we missed out on as a result. But I mean, during that time, I think Palm Beach increased like 30 to 40% over an 18-month, 2-year period.
Isn't that insane? Though?
It's ridiculous. So, and that's what caught me off guard in that. Looking at comparables and the price point we were playing in, I mean, nothing justified what people were paying for properties at that time, because there were just limited supply that's out there, and what they do, the psyche of the buyer, they go in, they get all their pre-approval, they do their research, they understand what a property's worth, or they think they understand what a property's worth, go in, they miss out on it. Okay,
that happens so many times with Geordie, right?
And you get so emotionally built up. Oh, I can see myself in this property. It's great. I love it.
Correct.
And then it comes down to getting your wallet out, and people don't have wallets these days. Phones, get your phone out. But, to paying, I guess, the contract price, and they get nervous and they're wondering, well, I don't believe what the real estate agent's telling me, and you shouldn't believe what the real estate agent's telling you. Because,
you say you shouldn't?
No.
Good.
No way. I mean,
why? I know why, because I know this is the same with a property. I mean, a broker in online businesses. Why to not believe what they're saying? But tell me, why should you not believe a real estate agent that's selling your property?
Well, it's their job to get the highest sale price possible for the seller, not for you to buy the property.
Mm-hmm. So who are they working for? They're working for the seller.
Yeah. And that's, I mean, over in America, they have buyers and seller brokers that work together as a team. They generally take a 6% commission and they split it between the two of them.
Oh.
And then what that's doing is giving, there's people like myself that we're in the market buying every day. We understand the ins and outs. Real estate agents, they the good ones, and the great ones definitely do. The good ones do. They train in scripts and dialogues to extract that emotional premium out of you and to push you down certain thought paths, thinking that there's greater competition. And when you're doing it one-off, which Australians buy probably once every 11 years in Australia,
on average,
you're not prepared for it because they're doing it every single day. It's like me trying to change the ceiling fan. Like I can do it. It might take me, I don't know, a couple of hours. I've got to go buy the tools, understand how it all works. I could kill myself because there's electricals up there. Probably a bad example, but a point being is that an electrician could go in there and do it within 30 minutes. And do a much better job. So, and also if anything happens in the future, you can ask them to come back and fix it up. But there's the whole psyche. So understanding, going back to that story with Geordie, is emotionally involved, missed out, go again, get emotionally involved, you miss out. After a couple of times, like maybe 3, 4, and after going to heaps of open homes, people just get annoyed. They get so shitty. That's why a lot of people hate real estate agents, is that, and it's not so much the real estate agents, it's just they don't understand the game that they're playing. And then they get to a point where they go to a property, they've missed out on 2, 3, 4, its asking price is $1.2 million. And in the end, the agent's telling them, look, $1.4 million buys it. And then they just go, you know what? If I can buy it for 1.4, let's just do it because I'm sick of this. And then that sets the new benchmark for market value for that location. And then there's also a difference.
That's right, and that's important to understand. Is that drove the property prices up so much that the newest comparable in that area was that new sale that was a high point, and then everything else is based off that, and a lot of it can be hot air. Like if something sells for and this is what they do in the media, right? Is like something is a record sale, and they put it in the media, and then everyone's like, "Wow, that area must be like killing it." And then that's the new precedent for that area, and it's
you use that sale, and also valuers use that sale,
correct, to get more money for the next, and so
to justify the next purchase,
which makes it scary for somebody who's buying. I remember you were saying, I remember Geordie told me that you told him or maybe you were talking to me about it. If you just buy, it's gonna buy for Ashley, because he is being an owner occupier, buy it a little bit more than the market value, and it doesn't matter because you're going to be in it for 10 plus years, and you're still going to get it's still going to grow, right? You're not going to lose money if you're buying it as a long game versus.
Well, I'll jump in there. I wouldn't say buy above market value.
No, but
I'd say your purchase price is going to be market value. Like the definition of market value is willing buyer, willing seller, local agent, arm's length transaction.
Yes.
And when you're going in and you're valuing property, they see that purchase price may be high. However, you're having those conversations with the agent too. And if there's multiple backup offers around that similar purchase price, then that is the definition. That is the true definition of market,
market value.
value.
What people are willing to part, like cash that they're willing to part with for that deal. Yeah.
Yeah, and that, I mean, there's obviously economic cycles and things can turn down, but at the time, you've got multiple buyers. That's market value. You have to pay market value to get into those properties. It's just shifting that mindset to go, well, there are comparables. However, given the heat, what's the scarcity? Because you could go to a real estate agent and say, well, I'm not paying XYZ because there's that house in the same street across the road. Like, classic example is a property I'm working on at the moment. It across the street there was a sale at $2.3 million. Next door went for 2.6. The agent's asking 2.5, really wanting 2.7. A lot of different variables in that. In that, the property itself is the floor plan's rubbish. You know, like they're calling it a 6-bedroom, 3-bathroom house.
Yeah, it's probably got a study that's not really a bedroom.
It's really like a big walk-in wardrobe and a parents' retreat. And they're calling that, and then the parents' bedroom. So anyway, but the clients that we're buying for, they're looking at the $2.3 million sale across the street, saying, "Oh well, that's where we think it sits." And I'm like, "Well, what about next door that went for 2.6? It's a sort of a similar. It's a bigger house, yes, but it's not as modern inside. And also, you got to look at, well, the psyche of buyers are also looking. They have access to those sales, so they can go in. Most people know realestate.com sold section. They'll be sitting there going, "Well, it's a 2.6, 2.3. We've missed out on a couple of properties around this area that's running around 2.4, 2.5. The agent's saying, 2.7 buys it, but the guy priced on it to 2.5. This is where it gets so convoluted and people just get so lost in it. But what I'm also looking at is like, I'm looking at the land size, the layout of the property, the floor plan, the renovation. Is it of a high end or is it not? And then looking at how long has it been on the market for. It was on the market for 70 days, went to auction, got passed in an auction, it didn't sell.